All right, so back to meditation.
Yeah.
And I've been seriously hours of meditation in the last 2 years because I'm interested in the physical connection between the emotional things that, I want to say it right because it's not that people use the word block a lot of times, and Abraham says you're not blocked, but the resistance is there. When people say, I feel like I'm blocked.
Well, it's like when you set your radio station on XM, Esther's favorite, channel 16, you're blocked from all the other channels. You're not blocked, you've just chosen 16 instead of 15 or 10. You're not blocked from it, you're just tuned to what you're tuned to. So blocked is a pretty strong, tripping over, resistant, inducing label, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But I can feel the difference, which I've been working with, from one side of my body to the other side. And in working to clear one side of my body, I feel the pain, and the pain is then connected to an emotional.
Well, you're making it more complicated. And the reason we say that would be like lying in bed at night and deciding that you shouldn't sleep tonight because your movement of blood through your body might need your attention.
When you're feeling the pain, the emotional pain and the physical, it's physical pain. And then I relax, and I try to relax deeper, and it does shift, but it's still like there working itself out, and it seems to be connected to our flexibility, to the flow of energy. And so I've had shifts. I've had emotional shifts, but I'm
in any sensation of physical discomfort, there is an active resistance. But this is the thing that we really want you to hear from us. This will make a big difference to you in the way you're approaching this. Physical discomfort means that there is resistance. But before there can be resistance, there has to be resistance to something. Now think about that. If you weren't in alignment, if there were not energy flowing to you that you were resistant to, you couldn't feel the resistance. So all you have to do is focus upon the energy that's flowing to you rather than the resistance that seems to be in the way of it. And in that awareness and relaxation, it usually can dissipate quickly. The other terms we've used are relax into it. But your awareness of it, you see, this is sort of what we were talking about yesterday. Every subject is two subjects, what is wanted and the absence of it. So it's like a stick with two different ends of it. And when you're focused upon the pain that you wish to clear, you are adding momentum to the resistance. It is about taking your attention from it, not putting your attention to it and clearing it. But you see, this is a sort of human tendency. I've got a problem that I'm going to solve. No, you're not. You're going to make it bigger. Oh, no, Abraham, I've got a problem and I'm going to solve it. No, you're not. You're going to make it bigger. Well, I've solved problems before. No, you haven't. You have identified a problem which made you aware of a solution, and you focused upon the solution and activated the solution instead of the problem. That's the way you solve a problem, is by focusing on the solution. So the way you solve what you're calling discomfort or energy blockage is by focusing upon the energy that is flowing, not on the blockage, not on the resistance. Does that make sense to you?
So when Esther had, because I remember one of the recordings where Esther had she had been out with her friend, one of her friends, who just, they laughed and laughed and laughed, and they had the most amazing time, and it was like all day they did that, all night. And then she went to sleep, and when she woke up the next morning, she had emotional pain, actually, that had to do with Jerry, because there was
there
a
you
drawer.
Are again. You're just going to keep bringing that up.
Well, I mean, because the drawer needed to be cleaned out, and she had been, avoiding it and not wanting to. I think I'm trying to find the difference between facing something like, and when she went to Abraham and asked, her vibration was high enough to...
Here's the thing that we really want you to hear, and we know that it is a bit confusing, but we're speaking to you where you are and the questions that are active within you right now. So this is a discussion about deliberate creation or the art of allowing. This is the difference between determination and relaxing and allowing something to be. Now, in all of it, there must be an awareness of what you want. And we talked a lot yesterday about how a problem is creating an equivalent solution. And then you all are making your choices about which end of that vibrational and emotional spectrum you are focusing. But as humans, you have such a tendency to want to get hold of that problem and resolve it, that you continue it much longer than it needs to be continued because you don't really trust the process. Well, Esther was not trying to dig up stuff that she needed to release. She was just out having a good time. And in having that good time, in other words, sometimes having a good time reminds her of other good times. There's some of that goes on, but just don't work so hard at trying to pump your own blood. This system works. You came in your body, the source energy part of you is grander, and in this body you're figuring out things that you want to think about. But you don't need to reinvent the system. You don't need to micromanage any of it. What you really are wanting to do is just figure out from day to day, from moment to moment, which things feel the best to you and focus there. And this conversation really falls into the category of trying too hard. It is the reason that instead of calling this the science of deliberate creation, which is where we began all those years ago, we began calling it the art of allowing, because your tendency as humans to find a problem and solve it is not serving you. And that label sort of activated that sort of determination from you. So you brought the things that you had learned from your life before, like goal setting and like suffering and like determination. You brought all of those habits of thought with you into this new body of work and slowed yourself down unnecessarily. And so that's the differentiation that we're wanting to help you to clarify. We want to say something else. Your inner being never looks back. Whew. Your inner being never looks back, even if there are delightful things back there, because there are so many delightful things in your present, and potentially even more delightful things. Your inner being is always and only, always and only, always and only, always and only looking forward. Your inner being, eyes, felt that? Eyes are between where you stand and whatever you're doing vibrationally and what's in your vortex and what you're being called to. Always eyes there, never looking back. So when you look back for any reason, you run the risk. We don't like that word very much, but it really is the most applicable word here. You run the risk of activating vibrations that are denser or more resistant. That's why we don't spend a lot of time. Now it's not so important, but you know how when you were with your children and they wanted to do something and you knew there wasn't time for it, you tried to distract them so that they didn't look there. Well, your inner being is distracting you from what's back there, because that's really old news. What's manifesting right now, as far as your inner being is concerned, is old news, because it's vibration that's already come to a manifestation. Every moment is a manifestation. Every moment is a manifestation. What you're seeing and hearing and smelling and tasting and touching, that's manifested, because now you are interpreting it with your most leading edge interpreters of energy. So once you're seeing it and hearing it and smelling it and tasting it and touching it, the work has already been done and you are viewing the results. It's like taking the cake out of the oven. It's done. It's not becoming anymore. That's as much as it is. And so, you want to say something? Mm-hmm. Here's why it happens. As you stand in your now, sometimes somewhat dissatisfied with the components of what is manifesting right now, there is a strong human tendency to explain this by explaining what came before. And always there is resistance in that. It's a justification, a sort of rationalization, and we touched on it yesterday. It's a trying to get awareness or agreement sometimes from other humans. But it really is not your best use of your time or your best use of your energy. And so The analogy that we've offered for years really applies to you here. When you're going 100 miles an hour and you look back, or you hit a tree because you've looked back, it's a bigger deal than if you're going 5 miles an hour when you have resistance. And so because your energy is moving so fast, and because there's so much in your vortex, and because you've touched so much of it and you know so much, we really want to encourage you to spend less time analyzing things and just more time romping and laughing with your friends, knowing that whatever's happening, whatever you need to know, is going to be stirred up. You don't have to go looking for the trouble. If there's something that you would benefit from stirring up, you'll find it, but don't go looking for it to try to weed it out.
Does the density from before, like you're speaking about, if you turned and looked back, does that density get cleared by looking forward?
Yes, because it gets cleared in the same way that when you tune your dial to the station you want, all other stations are cleared.
I think that's the thought of thinking that I do have to clean that.
We know you think that, but you can't clean it up and you can't get to the bottom of it because your attention on it makes it more. Haven't you noticed that? Have you ever had some issue that you needed to discuss with someone? So you sit down and you have a heart to heart. It's not a heart to heart, it's a brain to brain, and it never works. It's a competitive thing about who's right. And the conversation might come to an end because you're exhausted, but it never comes to a resolution. It's just, let's table this for later. After we've eaten, we have more energy to fight with each other. And so really, the only battle that's going on is between you and you. And you're the only one waging the battle, because your inner being is not waging a battle. Your inner being is saying, hey, you told us incrementally that you want this and this and this and this and this, and we've been tending it, and law of attraction's been working on it, and a whole lot of cooperative components have already been gathered. Come on over. And you say, I will as soon as I get this out of the way. I will as soon as I resolve this issue. I'll be right there as soon as I defend myself. So your inner being doesn't work on helping you get to the bottom of things. If your inner being was helping you get to the bottom of things, it would be fun to do it, but it isn't fun ever.
No.
Yeah. Good enough?
Thank you so much. So adored.
Really,
so,
really
so.
very, very good. Very, very good.